Hello.
Hello.
All right, let's start this meeting. Going, the time is now 6:14. This is the Henry County Board of Ethics meeting for December 12th, 2023. We'll do a quick roll call. District 1 is vacant. District 2, Craig Simmons.
Present.
District 3 is vacant. District 4, Aquila Henderson, our chair, she's absent. Desmond McLean, District 5. Tax Commission appointees, Cynthia Cournot.
Present.
Antonio Taylor.
Present.
Clerk of Superior Court selected alternate members, Thomas Lurie is absent, and Felicia Herrero.
Present.
On our agenda, we're going to start by approval of meeting minutes from November the 8th, 2023. If I can get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from that date.
Vice Chair, I ask that we approve the minutes from 11/8/23.
All right, could I get a second? All right, it was the motion was made by Cynthia Cournot, second by Craig Simmons. General updates by our ethics administrator.
Good evening, board. I just have a few updates for you. So I was able to make the purchase of Zoom, which is what we're using tonight. So it might be a little hectic because we're learning how to use it. But so far, I think this is going to be way better than Teams. My second item is our training. We haven't, as of November 28th, with our last training date, we have trained 82% of employees for the county. So that's a lot better than we thought we would be at. Any questions on that? My next item is, so the board member replacement for District 1 and District 3. As of right now, I am waiting on 2 candidates' background checks to come in. So as soon as those get sent to me over from Callie with HR, then we can move forward with scheduling them. I'm hoping to have those where we can get them in with under the grand jury for January 4th. That's their first meeting date. So I'm hoping that that's going to happen before the holidays. So
Was the sheriff's office still nothing to?
they are not. They are being sent over to the police department.
Okay.
I don't know why that changed. I just know that that's what they're doing now.
Okay.
So as soon as those come in, then I'll be able to schedule them for their interviews with the grand jury. So my last update is our budget. If you look, I gave you guys just a little packet there. So our budget, not including our salaries and all the insurance and all that comes out, but our actual spending budget is $104,683. As of December 4th, we have spent $23,337.73, which leaves us $81,345.27 to spend. So as of right now, the only things that really ever that come out monthly is like our cell phones for Breezy and I, our MiFi devices, our copier rental, and any general supplies that we need, whether it's for imprint or L&M for envelopes, all the items, our swag stuff that we use for trainings and community relations, the purchase of Zoom, our case management. That's really our biggest purchase that we make every year. That'll be the biggest because that's $12,500 that automatically comes out every year. which is our case management system. And then our consultation fee for the attorney for Mr. Hilliard's office. So as of right now, we do have $81,345.27 left. So I know that was a question to move forward with hiring Mr. Hilliard or any other attorney for the board. And I don't know if anybody has any questions or.
That decision last time we met, we were trying to decide whether we were gonna hire him as a hourly or how did we come up?
So at our last meeting, the board asked me to get other quotes. And we do have a place on, I think, G, where we can go into further discuss that.
Okay.
Those are all my updates I had. I didn't know if anybody had any questions about the budget or any other questions for me.
Ms. Herder? Sure. Okay.
All right, we have our general updates by our ethics officer.
Good evening, co-chair and board. We have our presentation for tonight, starting with general updates. The first update would include ethics training, our strategic planning for 2024, and then an update on the disclosure. As it relates to ethics training, as Ms. Bannister has correctly indicated, we have trained 1,100 employees. They're super excited because based on our understanding from our sister counties, that is a remarkable number. They cannot get that number. So we ended with Parks and Rec, and some fun pictures from them. They were a wonderful department to train. Next is a letter to the county manager. She did reach out to us to inquire about the training. I was super excited that she was interested to see where we were, and she actually inquired as to who has not been trained. So Gloria and I will get together. She's already reached out to the county to get a comprehensive list of all employees, and we will start sending a letter of non-compliance to the employees, their county emails, as well as to the county manager, as well as the board of commissioners. So all parties are on notice of who did not attend 2023 trainings.
How did it go with the fire department? Did we get that together?
So we pretty much set on the virtual, which it gets me to my next update. Oh, no, my next update. A part of our 2024 strategic planning. So we're looking at the virtual trainings, as well as the Power DMS. So as you all know, we finally have access to Power DMS, but not finally, for a couple of months. They have uploaded all the necessary forms that we need for training. So those are good to go. We have a nice little folder. And once we complete our virtual training seminar, it will be uploaded to Power DMS, where the departments like Parks and Rec or elections that have seasonal people or fire that has the hardest department to train, they can go ahead and access that virtual training on Power DMS. I estimate that virtual training to be completed by the middle of January. So that will be great for them to be able to go ahead and roll out. What the board has to decide is the board decided that they would train annually at a prior meeting, but we did not decide how often to do in person. And that was one of the things the board was trying to figure out. Do we want to require in person annually or in person, is it biannually? Every other year, basically. So that is something that the board has to figure out. I did send the board the statistics that you all asked me to look into of whether or how often training is required, but every county didn't tell me whether it's always in person or whether it is virtual. Okay. So any questions on Power DMS? Next is our legislative session. If you all recall, we did send some changes to Senate Bill 22 last year. Unfortunately, they were unable to get to the changes on the floor. So there wasn't even discussions about it, unfortunately. They just other legislation took precedent. Wow. So we are looking to reintroduce the suggestions to the legislators and as well as make more suggestions as to things that we've just found over the last year don't work. It's not functional. The way the code is written and the way you actually implement it, they're not matching. So the first day of the 2024 legislation session is January 8th, 2024. I do plan on getting the suggestions to the senators before the end of the year, so they'll have that going into the first legislative session. I've also already met with one of the attorneys that wants to help make those changes. Attorney, what's his name? I don't recall, but it's the sponsor's attorney. So that's one of the things that we're doing as far as our strategic planning for 2024. And the last thing is you all will receive the annual report by the first Tuesday in February. As we're closing out the year, you all will be able to see what we did in 2023, our numbers, kind of what the ethical health of it is in the county and where we're going. Any questions about the 2024 strategic planning? The next thing is disclosures. Just to remind the board about disclosures, Senate Bill 22 requires every official and employee to file disclosure when they have an interest in something, whatever it may be. That interest is determined by having a pecuniary or material benefit as a result of either a contract or a transaction that is accompanied by the county. The code did define for us who is deemed to have an interest, and of course, that's people who has immediate family that is seeking to do something with the county. If you know a business, if you have a business, or if somebody owes you money, essentially, you have an interest and you have to make a disclosure, which leads us to what the board's duty is once we get that disclosure. And it's just to give an opinion on whether or not that behavior is fitting or if there's a conflict. If you recall 2023 DC2, we had a disclosure by Henry County Development Authority. Specifically, David Crow, he is a board member. He made the disclosure on October 6, 2023. Based on that disclosure, there was a lease that now is between Heritage Bank and Bank One. Mr. Crow is an officer of Heritage Bank, now Bank One, but he also sits on the board as a member of the Development Authority. The board did have follow-up questions, and so I did send those questions, and these are the answers that we got back. The first question was, how has the lease changed from before Mr. Crow was a board member and subsequent to Mr. Crow being a full board member? The answer was that the lease was originally entered into by the authority on the 23rd day of June in 2014. The original monthly payment was $3,150 for a 2-year period. Currently, it remains at $3,150, even though he is now on the board with the newest lease having been executed on in 2020. So the lease amount has not changed from 2014. January the 1st, 2022, there was an amendment to the lease. And with that amendment, the rent still continued to remain at $3,150. The board had a question whether or not that was a reasonable and consistent rate amongst the market. It's the opinion of the executive director of the Henry County Development Authority that is reasonable and common amongst the market and amongst industry standards. The board also asked if Mr. Crow received any direct or indirect benefit by way of being on the board, but also an officer of First Bank. Their response was no. He doesn't receive any direct or indirect benefit. They also made sure to make it very clear that he recuses himself from any discussions relating to it. They also sent commentary that similar to us, the development board is actually constitutionally created. One of the questions was, why don't the county provide them space? And the answer pretty much was they're constitutionally created so that the county isn't authorized or mandated to provide them actually anything. So as a result, they've always over the last 20 years maintained their own private space from the county. Based on that updated information, the board does have to make a vote of whether or not there's a conflict of interest. My recommendation that is there is no conflict of interest, especially with inflation, for the rent to remain the same from 2014 as to 2022. Prior to Mr. Crow even getting on the board, it has been presented to the board that anytime anything comes up, he does properly recuse himself. He is not in negotiations. He does not receive a benefit. And because they're a constitutionally created board, it makes sense why the county doesn't provide them with space. And they've had it over 20 years. So I would recommend that there is no conflict of interest.
Question,
Mhm.
how much space is being rented?
I don't know. I've been in the space, but I didn't ask them how much space is
Is
rented.
it a room or a building?
No, it is similar to this. They have their own conference room, they have their own staff, they have their own offices, they have their own waiting area. So it's not one room, it's
It's a multi-purpose.
correct. Any other questions? Or clarifications? That's it, Chair. I'll turn it back over to the board for you all to make a motion and give an opinion.
If there are not any more questions concerning this, make a motion to. If anybody want to make a motion to give an opinion or want to move the vote to make sure that there is no conflict of interest based off of the information that we have. So it's on the table. All right, so
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, so if I can get a motion to make it. The reason, what am I giving a motion to? Basically just to say, well,
Vote.
just to vote, right?
A motion that, if the board is to find that there is or is not a conflict of interest as it relates to this disclosure.
What Breezy just said.
And we're talking a conflict of interest with Mr. Crow.
Right, correct.
Being involved with both parties.
Correct. The Mr. Crow and the Development Authority, there's no conflict of interest.
So if I could get a vote on the table, that there is no conflict of interest between the Development Authority and Heritage Bank. All those in favor? I believe it's it. Any question? You sure? Okay, all right, all those that oppose? All right, so 5-0.
I never voted.
Don't you have to vote?
I don't know. Do I? Am I
Yeah,
voting tonight?
because-
Yeah.
That's what I thought. I wasn't
Oh,
sure.
yeah. You gotta have 5, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
All right, so that's 5-0.
I need a motion
Motion,
and a
that's what I'm
second
saying.
before you vote.
Oh,
That's what I was whispering.
okay. You gotta tell me.
I need a
Just sit here and do-
And a second before you
Yeah.
actually.
Okay, can I get a motion to make a vote on the conflict of interest with Mr. Crow, with the HCBA and the Heritage Bank? If I can get a motion.
I make a motion that we go ahead and vote on whether Mr. Crow has a conflict of interest.
If I can get a second.
I said,
All right. It was motion by Craig Simmons, second by Antonio Taylor.
I'm sorry, Chairman, I got you now interrupt.
Yes.
I believe the motion needs to be not a motion to vote, but a motion on whether or not it is a conflict.
Okay.
So if the motion is gonna be that, there is no conflict, then someone would need to motion that there is no conflict between Mr. David Crow, Huron County Development Authority, and, First Bank.
Okay. Let's remind it. Somebody call that Quill and tell them to get here.
And I think because the motion is already on the floor, you all have to withdraw the motion
Yeah,
to make a new motion.
All right, so we
Make an
withdraw.
amendment to the motion.
Yes, you can make an
Yeah, all right,
amendment.
I'll make an amendment to the motion that we vote on David Crow having a conflict of interest with, is it Henry County Authority,
Development.
Development Authority.
And he does or does not have a conflict.
He does not have a conflict of interest with Henry County Development Authority.
Okay, the motion has been amended that Mr. Crow does not have a conflict with Henry County Development Authority along with Heritage Bank. If I can get a second.
A second.
All right, the motion was made and the motion was amended and made by Craig Simmons, second by Cynthia Cordon. And if I could get a vote, that there is no conflict of interest with Mr. Groves, the CDA and Harris Bank. So all those that are in favor? Five. Opposed? Vote is 5-0. All right. Madam Officer, is there anything else?
Not
Any
for
updates?
item E. When the board is ready at your pleasure, I'll move on to item F.
You say item F?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
This is the probable cause, Tina Correa versus Carlotta Harrell, 2023 EB10. The board has received the complaint, the amended complaint, as well as the evidence that was presented. As it relates to the preliminary investigation, we do have personal jurisdiction because chairwoman is the chairwoman, so she's a Henry County commissioner, as well as the subject matter of the things that were brought up. As it relates to the complaint itself, so the complaint was originally filed on October 23rd, 2023. And when the complaint was filed, it included various allegations, including the violation of the Georgia Government Transparency Campaign and Finance Commission. There was evidence of various people, including William Talmadge, evidence of community concerns about a future land use. It was very convoluted, and pursuant to Senate Bill 22, the complaint has to be very specific to a violation that the board has jurisdiction over. So because of that, we reached out to the complainant and requested that she file an amended complaint so that it could meet the rules. She also filed an ethics complaint alleging the same thing, and that was part of our complaint, so it was very convoluted. Ultimately, she did file the amended complaint on November the 11th, 2023, and we provided that to the board as well. As we go through the allegations, the first allegation is that the alleged failed to show impartiality in performing official duties. The facts associated with that allegation is that she failed to show impartiality because she knows of the history with Talmadge and Jones developments in Henry County and former Commissioner D-Zone Clemens rezoning. She says that Mr. William Talmadge is not a resident of Henry County, but that the chairwoman appointed him as an Atlanta Regional Commission representative, and his appointment does not benefit Henry County. So this is what the complainant, that's what she indicated was a violation of the impartiality. She also said that citizens asked that nothing in the Henry County District 4 be changed from 2018 future land use, and that the chairwoman was using the former commissioner's post office box. And so she couldn't be impartial because she was using the former commissioner's post office
Is it
Uh-huh.
box.
District 4, District 5? 5, right?
So,
So I don't know Roman numerals apparently, but District 5, I apologize. The next allegation was I'm sorry, I can go back.
can you, yeah.
Mhm.
So the complaint, okay. Full Commissioner Curran.
Is that the old District 5 or the,
Yeah, I'm
is
confused.
that District 2 now?
Current district.
This is current District 5.
Okay.
So she said that the citizens, the county as a whole is looking to change the future land use map. So if the board looks around, there's several, thank you. There's several boards that were presented for the board's review. That includes a draft of what it will look like in the future and the original draft that the county already adopted in 2018. And that District 5 citizens did not want the 2018 version to be changed to any new version.
And how did they document it? Was it a vote or what is this that?
So this is something that has been going forward in the Henry County Commissioners meeting. It has been a topic of discussion as to whether or not the future land use map should be changed.
Yeah, okay. Cause when they say that everybody don't even
Okay.
participate in those town hall meetings and stuff, so I'm just wondering how she's making it like the voice for the whole district.
Well, she's saying that the citizens, didn't want it. Miss Korea, I think she submitted a plethora of evidence. It was about 848 pages. And a lot of that, or some of that was, when she went and got signatures from people objecting. So I think that's what she means when she says citizens, as I think she's talking about those signatures. You may have driven around Warner Robins or Houston County, Henry County, Lord. You may have driven around Henry County and saw the green signs that have the yard stake signs.
Conserve Henry.
Conserve Henry, yes.
When should I recuse myself?
Now,
Okay.
if you need to.
I need to recuse myself because I know Tina, we live on the same street. We're about 4 houses away from each other.
Okay, so
And I've been to her home.
you would need to recuse yourself. So, co-chair, if you can just make note that. Cynthia,
No, I need to leave the room though.
Okay.
you just can't.
Oh, okay.
Just can't vote on
All right, so based off the,
That's true.
yeah, so based off the information that, we're receiving, our representative, Ms. Coronach, Cynthia Coronach, has chosen to recuse herself from any voting or, any information. She is still more than welcome to stay in the room and hear what she needs to hear.
Okay, so that, all of those, facts are what she is using to say that there is some impartiality.
How many signatures?
And while you do that question, do we have quorum now since, she,
Yeah, and I don't think we have a quorum if we have a vote.
Unless you know, we're one short of quorum.
now we're down to 4.
But technically only have 7, given that we're missing 2 districts. So are we quorum with those? You know what I mean?
We're still quorum because it's 7 members, 4 is still majority of the 7 members.
That's right.
We're still quorum. And I'm gonna pull up for you all, I'm gonna screen share it for you.
Can you see just one?
You all see this? So this is the, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna move back here so I can see a little better. This is the evidence that was submitted. I'm gonna try to get to the signatures since that was what was specifically.
Is this 848 pages of stuff?
It is, that's the stuff that was submitted, and I bookmarked many of it.
At least for sure, she's prepared.
Yeah, doing a great job.
Stack shit, file up.
Did you just say that or did you- Has Ms. Harrell, Commissioner Harrell, Chair Harrell been presented with evidence so she can refute or argue the points if necessary?
She had been presented with the complaint, the amended complaint, and she has given a general response based on that.
Wow.
me get to the signatures.
I just wonder at what point the signature was made, because if I make a decision, then you go get signatures. I wonder how do that work?
So the signatures they were done before the board made a vote, on this issue. And they were presented, they came and the board gave them opportunity, and I say they, I mean the citizens, an opportunity to actually speak out, present. They had 3 minutes each, the boards were presented. They also met with their respective commissioner
Council.
individually to express their concerns. But ultimately, the commissioners voted on how they wanted to proceed. They tabled this issue for months.
Do we know how many people showed up to have their voice heard?
The first meeting, I'm looking at the videos from a different angle, but it looked like a lot of people were there. The second and third, it did not appear as if many was there.
So it was presented like at a town hall meeting.
Almost, it was at a regularly scheduled board meeting.
So it was no special session or nothing.
Okay, here it is, you saw it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here's some of them.
That's page 1, yep,
Yes.
that's page 1.
So that's 12,
14,
14,
17.
17, 22, 37, 45, 52, 67.
What's else with those X's? Are those people that's
Look like it was
taking their names
mixed
off, or that's just? Or are they still signing that?
We're up to 81.
I'm not sure what the X's are.
Look like they made that misnumber.
It was several.
122, we're up to 134, 37, 137, 143, 54.
154. Did anybody else want to see anything in the package submitted?
Well, we got a husband and wife, and so on.
That's what I was trying to say too, the actual individual sign,
Well, we gotta make sure these addresses in that district.
yeah, the households. Let's go. Is it better here?
And the signature she only acquired are people that live in that district, not the whole Henry.
I don't know how her process of how she acquired them. These were just the signatures that, and it may not even have been in that district.
And
Because-
ultimately, the board voted.
The board did ultimately vote. But it may not have been in the district because from my understanding, that process took a lot of engineers, a lot of individuals working on it. And so it affected every district. So this was it appears to be a major change for the county because this hasn't been changed since 2018. It was supposed to be a very intense plan and they changed it.
Was it unanimous across the board, the vote for the change?
The last meeting they had in December, it appeared that vote was the final vote and that vote was unanimous. The first couple of votes, they've been meeting with this, it appears every month since August. They voted to table it because, they were talking about changes they wanted to see. The county manager expressed concerns that we don't need to talk about it, we need to see it on black and white. If we're gonna, change things, we need to send it back to the engineers because we're speculating. So it was tabled for 1 month, they came back, then one commissioner wanted to see something different in his district, so it came back. And ultimately, the last.
So ultimately, she feel the board went against what the people want.
For this particular allegation, yes.
And that's the thing, like when you vote, your councilman, you vote people into office, that's what happens. They get to make decisions for you. That's what happened.
So that was for that particular allegation. And then I can go to the other one if you all are kind of finished with this one.
What district, what district is Ms. Carrera in? She's in your
She's
district.
chair.
She is in District 5. Anything else on this before I go to the next one? And we may have to come back to this, so I'm just gonna scoot it to the side.
Go figure.
Shop fit fine.
Lord have mercy.
Alright, so all of that is the allegation of failure to show impartiality in performing official duties. The next allegation is gifts from outside sources.
Oh, to the
absolutely.
mailbox, because we gotta break this down.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the mailbox.
Mhm.
What is the allegation here?
So the allegation is that Chair Harrell is being impartial because she's using former candidate Bruce Holmes' mailbox.
So was the county paying for that box?
That I don't know. That wasn't presented in the 840. This was literally one statement in the complaint. It wasn't presented with evidence.
Because by him being a candidate, he shouldn't have had access to that mailbox, should he?
Well, it's a former candidate, so
Yeah.
he's no longer a candidate.
Yeah, well.
Well, he's currently now, but he's no longer a commissioner. He's a
Correct.
former commissioner.
The former commissioner, well, he's not a former candidate since the election been held. So, but my question is, did he have access to the mailbox still, or do we know?
I don't know. I would be surprised if he did because, mailboxes are governed by federal law.
Yeah, I just wonder what difference, if she's able to get access, what difference does?
So the code says that, for failure to show impartiality in performing official duties, that's defined as someone believing that they could influence you by your actions. So for the mailbox, it would have to be someone believing that they can influence Chair Harrell by the use of that mailbox.
The county is paying for the mailbox either way.
I don't know if
That's
the
an
county pays
expenditure
for it or
that
not.
is expense in there.
I don't know.
Okay.
I would be surprised if the county pays for the mailbox, only because our commissioner's mail comes to the county. So that's probably her private mailbox, P.O. box.
Former Commissioner Holmes' P.O. box.
Well, former P.O. box. So in other words, when Commissioner Holmes, when candidate Bruce Holmes was then a commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
he had a mailbox. When he was no longer a commissioner, he allowed Chairwoman Harrell to take over Harrell, because I say Harrell, she says Harrell. Chairwoman Harrell took over that box because he was no longer in need of a box. So in other words, if you have a P.O. box and you no longer want or need it, and I decide to take on that P.O. box and take over that lease for that P.O. box, then it's no longer his P.O. box, it became her P.O. box.
Correct. Correct.
So he no longer has access to that P.O. box now that it's Chairwoman Harrell's.
I don't know. I don't know how he would have access if the post office allowed her to take over the P.O. box.
Right, because typically the contract changes hands and they rekey the box.
Correct.
Unless they maintain the same key, it was two keys.
Post office ain't gonna have that.
No, they, whenever the lease changes, they change the key.
So the question kind of becomes, is it that impartiality did she fail to show impartiality in performing her official duties by having his former P.O. box?
So the thing we gotta think about is, what kind of mail is coming into this P.O.
Yeah,
box?
That's what I wanna
Being
know.
being that he's no longer a commissioner, her being the chair, it probably makes sense for her if they have business coming to that P.O. box
Right.
until the seat is filled. It makes perfectly sense. I don't understand what's the problem with it. If that mailbox is used for Henry County business, and he's no longer commissioner, it makes sense for the commissioner to take over the box.
Right, unless it was.
Unless-
It just makes sense.
Unless there is an influx of mail coming from potential donors and campaign supporters that could then help support Chairwoman Harrell's campaign, because getting in contact with all those individuals and companies that would have access that would send mail to that address could behoove her to have that and receive that incoming campaign sponsorship mail and opportunities, because he's no longer in need of that, because he's no longer eligible for that seat that he held. It's possible.
Yeah, but it's still possible that he could have still had access. 'Cause
That's also possible.
Yeah,
If she never rekeyed it, so there are too many unanswered questions. So we need to know what kind of mail is coming
Mhm.
to that PO box. Was it
The
personal?
only way she can find out, she found out from him about the mailbox, which means it's something else going on. How else would she know that's happening?
So Mr.
Cause he have to know that it
Holmes-
changed hands and who it
Who-
changed hands with.
Who
because he's
gave
on
the
the phone.
information, correct?
Yeah.
And so then that means is Mr. Holmes perhaps in agreement, allegedly perhaps, maybe, that he knows what's coming to that mailbox, that he finds is beneficial to Chairwoman Harrell. So
And
he's
you would have to find that that's beneficial to the extent that it will allow her to show impartiality in performing her official duties.
So then, was it then a choice of his to give that box over, or as he was leaving and ending his lease, she went to the post office and took the box he had, not with his consent? And did he feel that she did that with some sort of ulterior motive that could financially benefit her campaign? I feel like I'm on a Matlock episode.
yeah, I think we got a whole lot of
Right,
questions out there that we can't answer. And only way we can get answered, the postal inspector or whomever. So, but there's a lot of, and she can't provide it, or maybe, did we ask her, or can she provide, or?
I can't say she cannot provide further explanation. I can just say at this stage where we're at the preliminary hearing, what I look at is what they do provide. And the 848 documents, nothing had anything to do with a PO box.
Oh.
This was literally parlayed out, when she first submitted her first complaint. Y'all remember, we got a complaint with check boxes of the violation, but we just had paragraphs of things, which is why we asked her to amend it and put those things with, what are you saying the person did that violated the code?
Gotcha.
And once we asked her to do the amended complaint, she put this statement with this violation, but I didn't see anything in those 848 documents that relates to the PO box.
Okay.
but is that because she doesn't have access to that information? That's something that would have to be subpoenaed from the postmaster. That's why. She can't
It could
produce
be.
what she can't have access to.
But if she knows, she has to swear under penalty of perjury that the facts that she's saying
True.
are true.
And
So
based
some
on
type
that
of way,
evidence, she's gonna have to throw somebody under the bus to prove to us how she even come to know this.
yeah, some type of way for her to say that she is using his current or his former mailbox. She had to get that information from
And we need to
somewhere.
know from where.
We would have to know from where.
No, she got it from.
And if she is, wherever she got that from, is the use of that mailbox affecting that violation?
Right.
Mhm.
So before you can even subpoena or ask any information of the postmaster, we need to first get full disclosure of how she came to know this. Or is that
Correct.
necessary, to be quite honest?
That goes into my recommendation. So you want me to go ahead and give you what will be my recommendation on this specific allegation?
Or what do you want?
Yeah,
So my recommendation on this specific allegation was no probable cause. Because even if that is true, it doesn't relate directly to the failure to show impartiality by definition of what that is.
Absolutely.
So it has to be proven that a person benefit or it can be influenced, or is getting influenced. So based on her using somebody else's mailbox, I can't see any